Brett Favre. For football fans, this is the tragedy of the century. Jay, what say you about a hero, a legend, the man, the myth?
So first of all, is it Brett Favre or Brett Favre? Because I know a lot of football fans pronounce it Favre with the V at the end, but who cares? He's a scumbag either way.
Amen.
This fucking guy.
Bro.
He's the epitome of the good old boy network. And when you look into his past, you realize, oh, this guy grew up in Southern Mississippi, went to Southern Mississippi. He's a legend down there because it's a smaller school. So he's clearly the most famous athlete to ever come out of there. Of course, his kids went there because, Southern good old boy stuff. And so it's just not surprising that he got up to some of the things he got up to. We're all acting shocked because we believe him to be a good person because we've been told he's a great person, and we like to think good things about these athletes. But do we really have any reason to actually think he's such a good person? Do we have any reason to think he was incapable of doing this? Remember, this guy has faced some sexual assault allegations and stuff that we all just decided to, the media just decided to look the other way on before he entered the Hall of Fame. And now he's been up to some stuff. I know you've got the details, so take it away.
First, it's important to keep in mind that the money that was stolen was delegated for the poorest of the poor in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you why that detail matters. Mississippi is the most impoverished state in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
This money was stolen from the poorest of the poor in the poorest state in the country. The type of poverty that exists in Mississippi is not poverty that we are aware of in coastal cities. Poverty there is generational. 1 in 5 are poor, literally living in poverty and only knowing poverty because it has transferred through the bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, what finally ignited a fire under this case, because this information was released back in 2020, I believe, was when this was actually first reported, but it got sidelined by COVID. The reason it has gained momentum again is because there's actually a recently filed lawsuit, I believe, by one of the co-conspirators. And that co-conspirator has given up a name. One of those names being the governor that allegedly conspired with your boy Brett.
Mm-hmm.
Based on my understanding of what I've read, this lawsuit has revealed a series of text messages between Brett Favre, the governor, and other parties involved in this fraud. What happens as a result of this fraud was that 6 people were arrested by the state auditor's office for stealing $4 million from a welfare program. Another $2 million is also in question because of a pharmaceutical company that does CTE, I believe, medication, and Brett Favre is involved with that company. I can't remember right now if he's an investor or a part owner, but he has some relationship with that company.
Yeah, like
that company.
Or something.
Yes, that company is under investigation for $2 million in stolen funds on top of the other $4 million. But it's important to keep in mind there is a total of $99 million missing in welfare funds that have been misappropriated or fraudulently retrieved by parties who didn't deserve it. $5 million went to the college, Southern Mississippi, where Brett went, and his daughter. So he is not criminally charged. He is only charged in a civil suit because they're trying to get the funds back from him. Part of the problem of his defense is that it's going to be very hard to say that he didn't know, because what the texts reveal is that he was very well aware of the fact that this was questionable at the very least. And the saddest part about it was that he was not concerned about whether or not law enforcement would find out. He was concerned about whether or not the media would find out. And they have texts that speak to that.
Mm-hmm.
In those texts, former Governor Phil Bryant has communications with him. And those communications reveal that even though the welfare program was under investigation by auditors, that Brett Favre pressured the governor to release those funds anyway. That's not all, though. It's not just a matter of them fraudulently or misappropriating funds. They actively wrote a grant that the resources for the grant was supposed to go to the poor. His grant, or whoever he wrote this with, who submitted this, wrote a grant saying, give us the money, we're going to build a stadium for the poor.
Oh my God.
So it wasn't just that he embezzled money or misappropriated money. They actively wrote a grant saying, if you give us this money, the reason you should give it to us is because we are going to use it for the poor. Mm-hmm. He didn't say, I'm going to build this volleyball stadium for my daughter at my alma mater.
You said this in this grant application. Oh, the money's going to go towards the stadium, but it's going to go towards the stadium for poor people.
Yes. And
athletics.
The director at the Department of Human Services, his name is John Davis, I believe, has confirmed that there is truth to the funds being misappropriated. And that the text messages and other communications confirm that. And not only does it confirm that, it has messages from Phil Bryant positively responding that he would make sure that these deals that Brett Favre was invested in happened.
And remind us all, Phil Bryant is who?
The former governor.
There we go.
And within, I think, days of his removal, days after he was no longer governor, he, I believe, accepted stock in the company that Brett Favre was pushing and received welfare money and did agree to accept stock in the company within days of leaving his role as governor.
Wow.
It's shameful. And I genuinely can't believe that we're hearing more about Kyle Irving than we are about this.
Oh, Kyrie.
I mean, sorry, Kyrie. There is no comparison with regard to which crime is worse. And even more shameful is that there is no disputing that Mr. Brett did this. Whereas our basketball player, he didn't make the documentary. All he did was post a link to it. Why is no one else involved in the documentary being held responsible for it? Why just him? Not the actors, not the director, not the executive producers.
Well, the NBA can't do anything to those people.
Oh,
they can do something to Kyrie. I mean, some people are saying, oh, you got to take it down. I don't believe we should take down things that offend people, because what if someone's even if it's the case that someone's just doing a research paper on hate speech? Like, I don't believe that Mein Kampf, Adolf Hitler's book, I don't believe that we should ban that and you shouldn't be able to get it on Amazon.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Even if just for the case of, like, what if someone's doing a research paper on that and you can't get the one copy that's in the library? Now, could it potentially radicalize someone? Yes. Could a potentially radicalized person go off and do something heinous? Yes. My partner, knows people who live near a Jewish synagogue that was shot up. But you always take that risk. That is unfortunately the world that we live in. And when you start trying to burn books, when you start deplatforming, when you start saying anything that offends anyone can no longer be on something, even if it's hate speech, it's completely heinous, I agree. You run away with it, and then eventually a different type of violent person shows up and tries to use violence to stop that type of activity as well. So that's just my 2 cents on the Kyrie thing. But let's get back to Brett Favre, because yes, the entire sports media apparatus, the larger journalism apparatus isn't covering it because they wanted to focus on the midterms. But sports media should still be covering this, and they were barely covering it in the first place because they got to show you your scores and highlights.
But they're all over Mr. Irving.
Because it's controversial, it's going to get clicks, whereas everybody knows this thing right now is everyone hates Brett Favre.
Not everyone.